81 days to election 2020 in December. Good afternoon and welcome to Election Brief on your election headquarters. My name is Gifty Andwapia. Coming up in this edition, National Disaster Management Organization is currently running a mock exercise in 3 regions to test the readiness of security services and how they respond to election-related violence during the December 7 polls. Some members of the NDC in New Dubiase constituency threatened to vote skirt and blouse if the party's parliamentary candidate Adams Abdul Salam is not changed.
There's no transparency in NDC Nadanse South. Therefore, we as a group, we are here to declare that we want to preach skirt and blouse today.
Also in this bulletin, the heated race for the Adentan seat. Your election headquarters presents The Battleground, a show that engages constituents and candidates, takes off this evening at 8 p.m. on Joy FM 99.7. This year's edition starts with a race between Yabwabian Samoa and Mohammed Ramadan. Stay for details.
The Adentan constituency.
Also, the NDC promises to upgrade their Mantine Health Center into a polyclinic if voted into power, as flag bearer John Mahama begins a tour of the Bono East region. We are live on your DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144, and on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow us on JoyNews on TV. We're streaming live on myjoyonline.com, by the way, and on YouTube. Do stay tuned. My name is Gifty Andwapia. Well, in every election, there are battles for the voters' thumb. This year, your election headquarters is redeploying boots on the ground on the new show, Battleground. This show brings the microphone to listeners of your superstation Joy 99.7 FM in our carefully selected constituencies every Thursday at 8 p.m. Here is something to tease you ahead of the show later tonight.
The Adentan constituency will on December 7 see a keenly contested race. The MPP's Yabwabian Samoa will be seeking to make history as the only MP to be retained.
A bigger gap. In 2016, I had nothing to show. Now we have lots to show. We have a lot of things that have happened in mere 3.5 years of the new patriotic party's governance in Adenta, as compared to the 8 years that the NDC has in Adenta.
Yes, sir.
And we believe that, given the differences, residents of Adenta will feel the edge to maintain the MPP in power.
The NDC's Mohammed Ramadan will want history to remain unchanged as he maintains Yabwabian Asamoah does not deserve a second term.
If with the help of God we'll be able to go through this one, I'm very confident that come 7th December 2020, Ramadan will be declared the winner and Member of Parliament elect for Adenta constituency.
The constituents who are politically conscious simply cannot wait. At the bus terminal on a Thursday morning, the usual political debate is already underway. I join and ask who will win the seat in the upcoming election.
MPP supporter, but Ramadan and a winning.
Meters away from the central part of the terminal, I meet Ayisi and Big Joe. Big Joe, a driver in his early 40s, is the first to speak. He's clear in his mind that the current MP, Yabwabian Samoa, does not deserve his vote.
It is not going well at all, because at the time the NPP was taking over government, we thought they would do things differently. You should see the route we the taxi drivers use. It is in a terrible shape and impossible to use once.
Big Joe's friend, you see, has a contrary opinion. He insists Yao Boabin Asamoah deserves a second term.
They are telling lies. We are not losing. Things are cool here.
So, Joseph Akable there is on the ground. As you saw, he will be part of the team that will be bringing this show to us. But the host, Emefa Apau, is here in the studio with me. Emefa, it's good to have you once again.
Have you, Gifty?
So let's talk about the battleground. What are we to expect tonight?
Okay, so the battleground, some have already started wondering why they name the battleground. Well, we're doing battle, but a battle of ideas. Okay. The voter gets to, share with us what exactly their expectations are and what informs their choice in terms of voting patterns. So it's less than about 2 months to election 2020. So we are carefully selecting a number of districts or constituencies that's of interest to all of us. We've had flashpoints. We've been talking about a simulation exercise that's currently ongoing. So Adenta is a very interesting area. I'm sure we'll get into it. So that's why it's the battleground. Okay. And the battleground will have my colleagues here at Joy FM. We'll have the head of our political desk, Evans Mensah. We'll have Winston, who is his deputy. We have Akable, who is the lead producer, Joseph Akable. We'll have Elton John Brobe. We have Kojo Yankson, the Super Morning Show host. We also have Daniel Datsi, who hosts the Joy Prime Morning Show. Together with all of us, we put together the battleground, and then we get to look at all these constituencies and then listen to you. It's a very interesting area. Looking at, since it was created in 2004, it was carved out as a constituency in 2004. It looks like when NPP goes, NDC comes. NPP goes, NDC comes. Nobody takes or gets a second term at Adenta. So it's a very interesting area, and we have the deputy, the National Communications Director of the NPP, Yao Boabin Asamoah, now as the MP, and he was contested. I'm sure most of you were wondering why Yao Boabin Asamoah as a communications director will be contested at the primary level in the party. And we've had Ashimo, we've had the likes of Ashimo there before. I'm sure you remember Ashimo. We've had Kojo Eduasare, we've had Opari Hammond. Since it was carved out, he was the first MP for the area, and then now we have Yao Boabin Asamoah. This is an area that's a very interesting constituency to watch out for. We have his contender in the NDC, Mohammed Ramadan, who is the brother of the second lady and then the NADMO coordinator. This is an area that's, we can only start with Adenta. It's the best way to start. It only makes sense to start with Adenta. Tell you that this is how the battle will be done. Okay, so we'll be telling you how these people are battling it out. I mean, of course, they will be sharing their ideas, like MFA said, battling out their ideas. But on the ground, you also hear from the people who live in this constituency and how they are battling it out at their own level. MFA. And the MP, and of course, Mohammed Ramadan will also join us on the show much later. And you never know, you also be given the opportunity to join us if you live in the Adenta constituency. Some of my colleagues who already live here would also be joining us on the show. Joseph Opoku Gakpo, our parliamentary correspondent, he lives in that area also. And I've lived in Adenta before myself. Then you'll be joining us as well. Gakpo will speak for us, but I'm Association of Adenta residents. Yes. No, but actually there are lots of people who live in Adenta. I think Nathaniel used to live in Adenta. Ijo lives in that area. So there are lots of us. Evans Spencer himself also lives in that area. Exactly. As well. So we'll be looking forward to seeing all of you. How long is this program? It's an hour and a very packed hour. Exactly. And you can't miss it. It's also on all our social media platforms as well. Okay. So you don't want to miss that hour. It's just an hour. You don't want to miss it, especially if you live in Adenta. Adenta, by the way you vote, we know that you listen and you look at what is being presented to you. So tonight, we're presenting to you the battleground for you to make a choice, if you haven't already. I believe you haven't. And MFA Apau, MFA, thank you very much for coming into the studio and brightening up our cameras. MFA Apau is a host for the battleground, starting tonight at 8 p.m. All right, this is still your election headquarters. We're still on the election brief. Now, some members of the opposition National Democratic Congress in New Edubiase constituency of the Ashanti region have vowed to vote skirt and blouse if the party's parliamentary candidate for the 2020 elections, Adams Abdul Salam, is not changed. They claim that over 5,000 members of the party have already made up their minds to vote for the governing NPP candidate, George Buahin Odro, who is the incumbent. Former constituency organizer Frank Jatta told the media they would stay away from the party until better arrangements are made. Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Frank Jatta says some of the constituency executives of the party imposed Adams Abdusalam on them, denying 936 delegates their right to choose their preferred candidate.
Accept our sincere apologies for that sound there. But let me tell you about a simulation exercise. The National Disaster Management Organization is currently running a mock exercise in 3 regions, and it is to test the readiness of security services response to election-related violence during the December polls. Now, the simulation exercise, which is currently ongoing in the Ashanti Northern region and here in Greater Accra, is also to ensure the collaboration between security agencies to avoid chaos and confusion during the polls. Here in Accra, NADMO has set up polling stations at Ayawaso West Wagon constituency and the Tema West constituencies, and these are identified as flashpoint. My colleague Manuel Kranting was with a team deployed to the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. He's joining me on Zoom. Hello, Manuel.
Hi, Gifty.
Manuel, what can you report from your station?
Great. So earlier in the day, the simulation exercise was conducted, particularly at one of the polling centers at Belingpe 2 Basic School. It was essentially to draw, scenes from some of the flashpoints that we have been seeing over the years during elections. And, with these scenes are reconstructed by a joint task force with the police, the military, the ambulance service, and then, of course, led by NADMO officials, try to make sense out of it in the event that these events happen during the December elections. They are able to keep them under control. So, specifically, the scene that was simulated was, a stealing of.
I can't believe I just lost Manuel at that part that I felt was very interesting. So Manuel was trying to paint for us a mental picture of what exactly this mock exercise tackled. I think he said something about stealing something, must be stealing of ballot box, because that is a possibility as we've seen in elections across Africa. Manuel, if you can hear me, and I'm hoping sincerely that you do, give us that mental picture again. Stealing of ballot boxes. Paint for us that picture. What actually happened? What did they do? What was the response from the security agencies that are supposed to respond on the day of election itself?
Great. So, Gifty, I don't know if you can hear me, but to answer your question, the stealing of ballot boxes was a scene that was reconstructed. And so you had some people who were acting as unscrupulous folks, well-built men who came to the polling center to steal the ballot boxes. Calls were made to the police task force, which arrived promptly at the polling center to, as it were, truncate the perpetuation of that incident. And so, essentially, NADMO leading the team, providing some aid to the victims and so on. So the entire scene has been reconstructed from the very first ballot being cast to the ballot boxes being stolen, and then to aid being given to the victims in there. So each one of the task force, from the police to the army to the ambulance service to NADMO, each one of them at every point tries to put up a show of how, if it were to happen in real terms, how they were going to, deal with it. And so you had first aid, you had the chauffeuring of victims from the scene to the hospital and so on. NADMO is, trying to, as it were, demonstrate how they are going to be donating relief items to people who may be affected in the most unlikely event that some of these things happen. And so just like you said in your introduction, 2 constituencies in the Greater Accra region were selected: the Tema West constituency and the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency, primarily because they have been, identified as flash spots. You remember in 2019, January 13, 2019, when that infamous by-election happened in Ayawaso West Wogon constituency, the incidents that followed, I think that all those are history. And so essentially, these are the things that have been going on here in the constituency. Gift, if you can hear me.
Manuel, I do hear you perfectly. One quick question before you go. You've been speaking to the MCE for the area. What does he say to you?
Great. So she's been talking about the seeming reputation that the constituency and by extension the municipality has come to be likened with. She mentions that herself and her team, she mentions the Municipal Security Council, the MUSEC, is working hard to make sure that the incident that happened last year in January is not repeated. And so she's assuring the public and, in fact, residents within the area that all efforts, in fact, all hands are being brought on deck to ensure a peaceful election come December. If you can hear me, Gifty.
Yes, I do. Manuel, thank you very much. Manuel Kranting there from the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. He was embedded with the team that's conducting that simulation exercise there. Now, some of the reports received at the command center include the possible spread of COVID-19 and rampaging youth at the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. The security agencies at the command center have been detailing their operational strategies in dealing with situations like these. My colleague, Kwesi Parker Wilson, is at the command center. He's joining me via Zoom. Hello, Parker. Parker, I hope you hear me. Do tell us what they've been telling you.
Hello, Gifty.
Yes, tell us. What have they been saying?
Gifty. Right, so we have the presence of the Ghana Fire Service, the Ghana Armed Forces, Ghana Police Service, including Immigration Service and also ambulance services, and then Ghana Red Cross Society. They are all present, and then for them, they are fully equipped and ready for any kind of situation that occurs on that day, the election day. And so, for example, there was a scenario where voters were rampaging basically because of COVID-19, the spread of COVID-19. And the ambulance service tells us that indeed they are ready to quickly go and then isolate those individuals and take them to isolation centers. Again, the police says they have the COVID team ready, that they will quickly contact trace together with the immigration service to ensure that they kept the further spread of COVID-19 during the day. So these are some of the things. And one interesting scenario that came up, Gifty, was that if a policeman perhaps shoots a civilian during chaos, what then happens? And the police response is that because they caused the problem, quickly they will evacuate the place and call the military to come and contain the situation. And the military indeed told us that they are going to deploy a number of personnel at the various district assemblies so that when there's an issue, quickly they can move in and contain the situation. So these are some of the things that they told us that indeed they are ready for this year's election. And one interesting thing is that the Deputy Regional Minister told us that about 8 flashpoints have been identified here in Greater Accra. And going forward, they will ensure that they deploy a number of security personnel to these areas to ensure that at least peace prevails during the elections.
Parker, thank you so much for that update. Kwesi Parker Wilson is joining us from the command center where all this operation will be coordinated from. We'll get more when he returns with a report. Now, the Electoral Commission will from Friday exhibit the voter register. The Commission will also activate a short code 1422 or 1422 for registered voters to verify their details on the voters register. Stay tuned to Joy News. We'll be bringing you a live coverage of the Commission's briefing as well as analysis at 3 p.m. on the polls with me, of course. Now, what will make you give your vote to the governing NPP? Will it be the flagship free senior high school program? Will that do the trick? Listen to what people say.
fences are obaba, but so far in the MPP for one free cases no. Akọ ye pa abwa abatanoma wonso woni bi na ade no so wa abwa wana ka. Ti betumi ejina de na ye da to aba ma kofa.
Ni na so de tom ni na yaku but na now na like wedding kaya free SHS so I hope there what one man why continue cinema ending so baba be all the more who do free SHS or that boy cool mama obia no ma minis obia only be no so to akọ school ni bi but a lot to I to because of one it's about too far so
and say obeja free education also obeja free education also that one it will more vote because of the free education that's why you can get vote. Free education, but one problem or the problem I say all the free education from there. Also more jobs which come, but I will not see the more jobs. I'm a young numbers, yeah, break. The more jobs, no. One dam, one factory, no. That one I know on here.
Also, be able to ababi or hair or but I been tina or to aba. Look at free senior hanging quan, yeah, free senior hang quanti, mammy, mention survival. As a medabani, me quite mamma, Baba says, go to the kitami.
Well, what's your story? Remember, it's less than 90 days to the election. Now, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has commenced a 3-day tour of the Bono East region. He first paid a courtesy call on Omahene of the Amantine Traditional Council, Osaberima Owusu Abebio II, where he reaffirmed his promise to upgrade the Amantine Health Center into a polyclinic if voted into power.
And they said, because 2016, Abraham Yaman Penny, Sunday, I'm near the 12, I'm about Amantina, I'm a clan, more health center, Mason. And I said, Senamia Madum, not the Bayer Mampenia, Bipija Health Center, no, Abaye Polyclinic. Nyame elesi hene enti ni abanasa enti masa be botaya eda so si yeni so ebise ohwe amantin ha na ohwe nipa dodo nipa doma ewo amantin na se yare ebo obi na ebro health center no so ene this yede nipa no eko atebubu amase yede no ko mampon enti yade a esefata se health center no epejam na etumi be polyclinic enti sa boshe no masa ebe ato ho se nyame madom na ekunimde yede a nyame adom nti mo health center no epejam na abena ni polyclinic.
So Mr. Mahama essentially says, I was here some time back. I promised you I was going to lift, the center to a polyclinic. At the time I made that promise, I lost the election, but I'm back and I'm asking you to vote for me because if I come back on that seat, I certainly will make good on that promise. Essentially, that's what he says to them. I'm taking you away from there to Takwa. The traders in Takwa, which is also a key mining town in the western region, have expressed worry over the increasing economic hardship, as they put it, in the country. They say that the situation was adversely affecting their businesses. And according to the traders, working has become difficult since patronage of their wares continue to dwindle, thereby pushing them out of business. They believe that a change in government could help to make their trading more profitable. Sharing their concerns with Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, who is a running mate of John Mahama, who also visited the Takwa market as part of a tour of the region, the traders said they look forward to the NDC's incentives for small-scale enterprises to expand their businesses. Professor Opoku-Agyeman, responding to their concerns, promised them there will be improved livelihoods through profitable training under the NDC administration if they were in power. We're bringing you that live coverage of the Commission's briefing, as well as some analysis, and also on Post and today we're also engaging the PNC. You certainly want to hear that. It's with me at 3 p.m. Please make a date. That's it for Election Brief. There is more news at myjoyonline.com. Many thanks. My name is Gifty Andopia.